My sister copied everything I owned for 15 years, so when she stole my late husband's memorial vows and read them at her own vow renewal, I handed her the one thing I knew she couldn't resist copying, and it cost her everything. I've had a shadow since the day my sister Colette was born 2 years after me. Not normal sibling rivalry, something sharper. If I bought a modest car, she leased a luxury one. If I saved for a year to afford something, she'd put the deluxe version on a credit card the same week. If I got a raise, she'd suddenly announce a bigger title at a rival company. It started almost sweet, back when we were kids and she wanted the same lunchbox. By our 30s, it had teeth. I bought a small starter home. Colette closed on a bigger one in a better zip code a month later and told the family, some of us think about resale. When I adopted a rescue dog, she bought a purebred and posted them side by side. Then my husband, Wes, got sick. He passed 2 years ago, and at his memorial, I read a letter I'd written him. 3 pages. Everything he'd meant to me. People still tell me it was the most honest thing they've ever heard. Then my mother pulled me aside one evening. You need to stop showing off, she said. Colette's maxed out 3 cards keeping up with you. She and Dean refinanced twice. This competition you started is destroying her. I had never started anything. I'd buried my husband. 6 months later, I was quietly rebuilding, seeing someone kind named Theo. Nothing serious yet. Colette announced she and Dean were doing a big vow renewal ceremony, and she booked the same garden where Wes and I had married, hired the harpist from his memorial, and then did the thing I still can't fully say out loud. She read my letter to Wes, my memorial words, the 3 pages I'd left in a folder at my mother's house. She read them to Dean, at a party, as her own, and filmed it for social media. I watched that video alone in my kitchen, and something in me went very quiet and very clear. I'd spent 2 years grieving while she treated my dead husband's memory like an accessory to one-up, so I decided to give her the one competition she could never resist and never win. I found the trap at an estate auction. A gorgeous lakefront cottage, magazine perfect from the road. My friend who inspects properties walked it with me and handed me a report that read like a horror novel. The whole thing was built on a failing seawall, the foundation slipping toward the water an inch a year, 6 figures to even stabilize, uninsurable. From the outside, it looked like the deal of a lifetime. I started talking about that cottage at every family dinner. I called it my dream, the place I wished I could give myself after everything. I showed my mother mortgage papers for a number I obviously couldn't swing. I let Colette overhear me on the phone, fighting for it. Then, after 3 weeks of longing out loud, I announced, heartbroken, that I'd lost it, couldn't get the financing. I just hope nobody snaps it up before I can try again, I said, and let my voice break. She was viewing it within days. The sellers had staged it beautifully. Fresh paint over the water stains, rugs over the sloping floors. Colette didn't even bring an inspector. She waived the inspection to beat the other offers I'd kept mentioning, and closed in 2 weeks. When she saw me next, she couldn't stop smiling. That cottage you couldn't afford? It's mine now. Maybe stick to what's in your budget. I said nothing. I already knew. The first heavy rain, the basement took on water. By fall, the cracks were spidering up the walls, and an engineer told her the seawall needed emergency work, or the house would slide. Work she couldn't pay for because she'd emptied everything, and our parents' savings, into the down payment. She showed up at my door one night, hollow-eyed, and said, "You knew. You did this to me." I shrugged and reminded her I'd never once set foot inside that house. She'd toured it. She'd waived the inspection. She'd bought it. All on her own. She couldn't prove a thing. A year later, Colette and Dean are divorcing. The cottage is condemned, and she's living in our parents' spare room telling anyone who will listen that I ruined her. But she sounds less like a victim and more like a broken record, because everyone remembers what she read at that vow renewal, and whose husband those words were really for. My mother asked me recently if I felt any guilt. I thought about it honestly. So let me ask you the same thing I asked her. If someone spent 15 years copying your life and then read your dead husband's memorial as her own party trick, would you have warned her about the house or handed her the keys?